Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wytpod. My name is Harshit, and I'm the Director of Business Alliances at Wytlabs. We're a digital agency specializing in SaaS and e-commerce SEO. I've got Ian with me today. He's a growth operations manager at TestFit. Now, they are a brilliant real estate visibility platform to realize the full potential of land through trusted automation. A big welcome to you, Ian. So happy to have you with me.
Thank you, Harshit. Nice to have you here. I've listened many episodes before. I can't believe I'm now one of them.
All right. Now, Ian, you've got a very brilliant background in both digital marketing as well as strategic planning. I would love to understand what really drew you to TestFit and how has your experience basically shaped your approach for this role?
Sure. I have to say it's one of the industries that I know the best throughout my career. I call it AEC. So it's architecture, engineering, and construction technology, because it's one of the crafts that, if you think about it throughout the years, it has never changed. The way you build buildings has been kept a secret for many years. And then people change the way they work about it, but ultimately they build the same thing, buildings. And technology has to be delimited by the outcome, whereas in other places like AI, you can play with it, but it's not a building that will fall on you if it's wrongfully built. So it gives you a lot of end-to-end knowledge. It gives you a lot of years. A building takes from drafting until occupation by the final person. Perhaps the fastest one would be 3 years, but sometimes it can be 10. So there is a lot of confidence in this industry. And what I've learned throughout the years precisely is that quality matters and one step at a time matters, which fits really well with my personality. And with digital marketing, you normally are prey of doing more and faster every time and every day. So it is a really good mixture of being pulled in both sides, both ways, and trying to find your balance is the ethos of a day that gets you through it.
Yeah, I agree. Now, in your role, you're pretty much working with both marketing and sales operations. How do you ensure that the alignment between these departments happen well and for the growth of the company?
I have had experience before doing directly growth, directly business development, and directly sales, reporting directly to the CEO, knowing what it takes. I just wanted to go back to the operational level, which means keeping everything clean and steak so it makes sense, no matter if you see it 1,000 feet high or 10 feet. And so in marketing and operations, there is alignment as long as there are outcomes. But then in sales and operations, there is alignment as soon as there is accountability. When things work, the reps have their name over the deals. When things don't work, they don't want their name on it. So there's a lot of attribution. There is a lot of channels. There is a lot of traditional marketing and sales alignment. But ultimately, automation helps a lot only when you keep in mind the big picture at the end of it. So we take our OKRs, our KPIs, however you want to call it in your organization, but ultimately, what do you want to report in that monthly month or in that yearly review? And then you take it from there. You don't build reports for the fun of it. You don't build workarounds, automations, and flamboyant things just because you can do them, only if you're going to use them. And then you ask, who is this meeting going to be for? Who is this process going to benefit? Is it more than one person? Yes. Is it only two people? May not be worth it right now. Let's keep over it.
Gotcha. And since you mentioned, the KPIs, I would love to understand what do you prioritize with respect to the KPIs? What really do you focus on for basically, your revenue architecture and performance reporting? Just
We have amazing leadership in terms they allowed me to propose a constant interpretation of data, not just the data that we report back to or traditionally would think of. And one of the things we've introduced is this notion of go-to-market. Go-to-market is primarily focusing on the ultimate experience for the end person, not for the company ourselves. So we don't ask people, for example, on a forum over and over the same things. I know this sounds like evidence everyone should be doing, but it's not the case. Even in 2024, whenever you want to book a demo, you have to repeat your name and your email 5 times on average before you talk to a human. That is a big no for us. So these small changes just allow us to go into, instead of how many form submissions as a KPI, we just go into what is the conversion rate. And when we measure days to deal, people don't have to repeat themselves and we actually get to talk about them. We have to see all the conversion points throughout the journey, knowing that every conversion is different and has a different meaning and a different intent. And it also gives us a very healthy dynamic of finding what is the real intent. We know that someone is just trying out the software. It's not the best time to approach them. It's very heavy and there are a lot of features and goodness you just have to discover on your own, as opposed to someone who is just looking at a pricing page more than 5 times. That is a different KPI. So we do focus on conversion a lot, but we do not focus on chain conversion, like point A to point B. We do cohorts, and I am a big statistician nerd. So there is correlationship with cohorts. If you start an action in a period, how many percentage of that person's intent actions converted within the same period?
Yeah.
And you can find that way very easily your 80-20, your distribution, meaning that if something is working really well, you're going to see that within the same period you're trying to measure, more than 5%, 10%, whatever your sample is doing that. And you can report, hey, this is a victory. Let's double down on this.
Yeah.
As opposed to the opposite also happens when something is churning down, when you are having more close loss, where you're being ghosted. Yeah. That right away will tell you, and it has saved us a lot of time without having to wait 3, 4, 6 months for a regular conversion, marketing all the way to closure and sales to see results. We can measure them if you go through cohorts and just go, instead of all through the tail, just step by step.
80-20 rule is golden one. We as an agency also follow it. Yeah. All right. Now, how do you approach market segmentation and targeting? And any specific strategies that you have found to be really effective in reaching out to your target audience?
Mm-hmm. The industry is really novel in terms of construction industry. We are part of an ecosystem that there is no company or player that will come and you don't know about them overnight. So we have something that most of sectors or industries don't, which is we have our ICP pretty well defined. And I take business 101 very seriously when we come down to targeting. So I always go down to TAM, SAM. Your total addressable market, you always know it because you're in the industry. If you know what your product does, which we know our CEO knew it from the first day he started, because he's actually an end user gone into developing his own product for himself. So we have the sum as well. We have the specific opportunity market that we know who we should address. What is their pain point? What is the story? What is the benefit? Right. That middle is the part that we're always playing with, which is the SAM, the specific addressable market, which is, okay, we may play this feature, but it may be stronger or paying more attention to that other person. When it comes to that, we play a lot with releasing our product in the wild and then checking reactions. We are very well known for developing something like, hey, we just released it. Go for it. It's free. Try it out. And then people trash us as much as they love us. And that just gives us the strength to go and refine our product. We actually don't receive hate in terms of negative comments, but we actually receive a lot of very educated feedback. And the criticism and the way they use it, they are our stress testers. And there is a reason why in the industry, TestFit actually is not only our copyright, but it's a term used for you do a test specifically as a part of the design in the chain. So it's very important for us to understand the segmentation, and this is where we play in the market. For specifically talking about segmentation and marketing audiences, we play a lot with a case or approach that I love, jobs to be done. I think you cannot forget about the person. So what is the job that the person in front of you who will use your software will be doing? And this goes from our wording, from our product, from the UX, like how ultimately the person is going to use that. And then we just translate it into the segments instead of using straight away job titles. Yeah. Job titles are really not relevant for us because we know the jobs to be done. We already know like the industry, the companies. And then something very interesting again with our industry is we always talk about developments. more than prices, more than investment in technology, for example, we know that someone is actively working and maybe in need of our services and software because they have developments. And so we're very much on the known. We're always consuming news and feeds about, oh, there's a new development to be planned in Abu Dhabi in 2025. So we know since the beginning of the construction, something's going on. We talk about people in the industry. There's a lot of love and networking. Every in real life or virtual events in the industry are really great places for us to feed up that.
It's amazing, man. And now I would love to explore in terms of your process of automation. What are some of the challenges that you have faced and how do you address them?
So one of the main problems with automation, I think for anyone is in what moment do you keep feeding it so it works? Or when do you stop it because it doesn't make sense anymore? And once you start it, you can't stop it because your data is constantly being modified or affected by it. In our terms, we have a very pragmatical approach, and I'm always being challenged in terms of what if we do this? What if we do that? What if we do that? So I'm very blessed in terms of my team is constantly telling me what ifs, and I just say yes or no. But then there are some other places where I definitely need to go in with a miro board session and ask anyone's input. And okay, please understand this implication, this implication. Let's decide together where do we want to go phase two. So there is a lot of communication and leadership to drive the automation. I would say if not, you shouldn't be doing automation. If the outcome is not clear and you have no means to do communication and leadership around where it goes, should stay away from it. And then the other part about it is we really do leverage a lot feature development. So for example, we use HubSpot and I've been doing HubSpot for 12 years. I was there when they started the bright new thing on the block, and now they are a huge company no one cannot use at some point. But every time you go, they have something interesting to try out. And there is community around it. There is a lot of also good features. If you just go to your right corner, you have product updates. You can sign yourself up for beta. That's another way which we leverage automation. We do a lot of updates. We do a lot of exploration from the moment they are released. And that way we can capitalize the moment they come broadly, or we solve problems we may not allow to become a problem otherwise.
Gotcha. Well, that's brilliant. I'm also a big HubSpot fan. Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to be a little biased and let's talk SEO now. I would love to understand what role does SEO play in your overall digital marketing strategy and how do you prioritize SEO along with your other marketing efforts as well?
Now we have to say why we prioritize it before I answer. And so we prioritize it because for me, it is one of the channels that works the best. And not only because it's free, everyone thinks, oh, SEO, I should do it because it's free. But then it takes so much time, it's really not anymore. But it is a low friction and quick conversion because it gives you intent, something that other channel does not give you. If you think about it, other channels are only you pushing stuff through different places and different formats, trying people pick up whatever you do. SEO is the opposite. You are picking signals from people and then you're building your response to the first ignition signal. Otherwise, you would not have an algorithm. The way we do it and why it's one of our priorities is we do believe a lot in community development, and the way that our product has been developed, as I explained before, has a lot to do with our own experience, but then our users feed our experience, and then the product releases are driven by that. And the organic effect has to be explained somewhere. SEO is the natural quintessential place that effect of our vision of how we enrich our own development fits with SEO. And the other part is we also focus on usability. So whenever we drill down on specific content and SEO, because we're not just playing our chances, we actually have a strategy. We have intent and pushes and campaigns in place. But we do think about how people are going to use the content. And so it's not only about a clickbait. It's not only about getting you to a place. We do it an end-to-end evergreen content. And I would say the best example was our ROI report on real estate development and how that actually benefits people. We did a very long tail content for over a year. It is free to consume. It also gated if you want to download it, but it's really not a constraint for us to get leads. It has worked just amazingly how it's been picked up every single time in different angles in SEO. And over the same long tail content has given us so many rankings, so many ideas to develop new clusters, new pillars that we wouldn't know otherwise. We would just go to a tool and find potential opportunities of keywords, but we actually got more responses if you drill down in that other section of your Google Search Console, or we just scroll it even further with SEMrush. But it has kept feeding us. Like the new trends that we are able to identify all come from one piece of content. This is an example that just keeps on giving.
Gotcha. And how exactly are you preparing yourself for, because definitely there has been a lot of changes now on your SERP landscape. For example, the AI overviews, tons of developments happening, right? So how exactly are you preparing your company, your website for these new developments altogether?
I have to say, I think every marketer should feel also the way that I do. I don't have enough time as I would like to do proper SEO. How algorithm and discipline are always keeping you at pace that sometimes, unless you do full-time SEO, and even if you do it, it's really hard. With that in mind, what I found myself with an amazing team, we have a brand manager. He's a shining star. You give him something and he makes it brighter. And then we have a very dear friend who is an expert product marketer, but then also maven in the architecture industry. So we don't need to look a lot for ideas or brainstorming in terms of preparation. What we normally do is we drill down, okay, here's what's going to change. Do you see any impact from your point of view, from my point of view, for us? We don't talk about SEO specifics at this moment. And then if we see any potential impact to our brand, content, product, or industry in any whatsoever way, then we interpret what we can do. In this case, okay, an example, should we just go and curate our YouTube channel? Should we just go in our social media and change copy? Should we just start doing more link research or building links with other companies? Yes, no, why? And then we just weigh it all up. But it starts, as opposed to many times that I had conversations that are primarily SEO technically driven, we start with the ultimate impact to our brand and share of voice that we would see in that change. And we've kept ourselves up in terms of algorithm. We really don't mind if there is someone ranking higher for a keyword we're aiming at, as long as the traffic makes sense, the help makes sense, and especially the intent that we're looking to get with that keyword keeps making sense. That's also the way we keep it at stake. So we don't only do planning, we also keep monitoring in this way, ultimately focused on intent.
Oh, that's wise. All right. Now, how do you ensure that the user experience is at the forefront of your company's marketing and product strategies?
We don't obsessively think about the user when they are doing stuff with our software. I think it's very tempting right now in our landscape to say, I want to have an eye tracker movement and then I want to count the number of clicks. That's possible. When I started being a marketer in 2010, you would have to fix yourself big Google headsets just to see if the person was moving their eyes or blinking. And now it's all in a screen grab. So instead of going and being prey of those type of technology assets, which are very helpful if you have a strategy and usage for them, we just rather focus on, are they using it in a certain way, producing a pattern or a data? Because we believe from the moment we start doing features, that's going to ultimately help you to this and that. And so we do look for, again, data patterns that tell us, okay, this is usage, this is a captive usage. I call it sometimes euphoric usage. I use, and I shouldn't be by definition of my role, but I spend a lot of time analyzing product data and how many, for example, events happen during certain time of the day, or also logins or stuff or indicators that give us a sense of, is there any trend or pattern? And so we just get a sense of what's going on. We can keep piloting the plane, but we don't spend so much time going into individual cases and patterns that makes us lost. It eventually gives a very seamless product because in spite of being AI and generative design, we generate AI within the seconds. So we save a lot of time for users. We don't become heavy and robust as many apps or applications would do, or even website in the cloud that have so many tools integrated that the platform and the product may be amazing, but the tracking ingredients added up to it makes a lagging experience. Then if AI is not fast, it's not pretty. So
Gotcha. All right. Now, I would love to what specific new initiatives that you're planning, marketing initiatives that you're planning at your company at this stage, and also, any of the growth opportunities that you see and within your industry, which you wish to leverage and get most bang for the buck.
I think we're right now in a very interesting time, both economically and technologically speaking. We
Yeah.
can afford to go very big in terms of investments that will pay off right away. And we still will have time to play it off. AI is a never-ending playground for anyone. But then we also have recognition of, okay, how is it going to be ultimately used? How is it really going to be happening? So I think one of the things our industry is really great at is driving ourselves as a core, as a group. We always are in the know what everyone is doing around. And being part of that community is part of our leadership and planning. So the other part that we just understood very easily is we shouldn't compete anymore trying to understand how do we put the product in hands of a person first. Do you leave it to themselves to discover it, or do you suggested throughout a discovery process induction? So we do not even talk about PLG or self-led growth. We just basically have different ways in which you can eventually all get into the adoption. So if you're a fast self-discoverer, you can do it yourself. If you are someone who is more vocal and your learning style is more visual, you may need a demo. You can book right away in the calendar, no bells and hassles. Like you actually get to talk to a person instead of watching a recording. You can also just decide to read, and we have tons of papers on how actually it works. We have step-by-step guides. So just the notion of let's put it all out there and allow the people to pick their own paths is one of the main points that our strategy keeps growing stronger at, which is we don't have to decide. We just have to allow people the decision and the ultimate benefit of the decision.
Gotcha. Hi. Now, since you love books and continuous learning, can you recommend any resources or books that have basically influenced your own approach in marketing? And
I actually adopted her as my Bible, and if for whatever reason she's watching us, like I haven't in this very old book. I have normally struggled trying to explain what's going on in my head. And I think that if you are driven sometimes by data and numbers, it's not always easy to come up with a wording for that. And obviously Awesome by April Dunford has really educated me throughout the years. And I just sometimes go back to her suggested frameworks in which you can talk about the benefits of something without the need to go into the details of it. And then you can actually talk about it in different angles, that everyone has a voice and a participation in that story, but without going so creative that you need to talk about it for hours. You can just deliver one single message and positioning. That is number one. And I would say lately, the other one that keeps me at stake whenever you produce data and reports, and whenever you want to explain to anyone how things are working, is The Seven Powers by Hamilton Helmer. I'm sorry. So Hamilton is really good at explaining those 7 powers that drive growth, economics, growth, businesses. But then he explains what does it actually mean. So instead of falling into a pool of KPIs, we could be measuring everything. We just have to pick our own battles also for reporting and data. And that just keeps me at stake. What's really important in the bigger picture at the end of a year, not just for the end of the week.
Makes sense. All right. Yeah, and we're coming to an end now. And now I'd love to have a quick rapid fire with you. Are you ready for that?
Sure.
Okay. Are you a cat person or a dog person?
Cat.
Okay. I see the picture.
Cat person or dog person?
Yeah.
Dog. I'm a French native speaker and chien. So I wanted to say dog. Sorry for that.
Hey, no worries. Do you have any pets?
Yes.
All right. Let's
She's
see.
a little bit old, but she's
Ah.
right now which working with me the whole shift.
What's his name?
Sophie.
Ah, nice. Her name's. All right. What chore do you absolutely despise doing?
Cardio on the gym. I can't.
What career did you dream of having when you were a kid?
Oh, okay. I was very divided. I wanted to go somewhere medicine or somewhere diplomat.
Oh.
I always had both sides struggle.
Yeah, interesting. What chore do you absolutely despise doing?
Cleaning the inside of a microwave.
Okay. And what habit holds you back the most?
Again,
What habit holds you back the most?
I want things to be perfect. So if I don't feel I'm ready to do perfect, I don't do things.
Interesting. All right, now coming to a very last question. What was the last Gen AI prompt?
I'm not lying, I'm reading here. So my last AI prompt was fix this API to merge two files, not just one. I was trying to get a webhook to work and I didn't want so many lines of code. So I was trying to make it one single script.
Okay. And you gave me those 2 cents when we started this conversation. So thanks for that.
I was not lying for sure. Like it's a pain point in my mind and the editing.
Oh, that's good. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. I really appreciate your time here. Thank you so much for doing this for me. And yeah, I really appreciate all the experiences and, your expertise that you've shared on today's podcast. Really appreciate it.
No, it's me. Thank you.